So today I wanted to do things a little different by just asking people that follow us in our Instagram to leave questions regarding personal finance and investing. And I got some really good ones that I'm really excited to share with you guys. So let's get to it. Making a plan to move out of your parents' house, how to save, what to spend on, etc. So the truth is that you don't really need to make a plan to move out of your parents' house because the only thing you need to move out is a job. Unless you're super wealthy and you win the lottery or you're just retired, the only thing you need is income in order to pay rent, because majority of people like myself just pay rent on a month-to-month basis. However, in order to actually make the move, you're gonna have a few costs that are mainly gonna be the security deposit, which depending on where you live, it's gonna be 1 to 3 months. Then application fee for the building you're gonna live on, moving cost, and also furniture. So I actually know the person that is asking this question, and I'd say that for Miami, which is where the person lives, you need to plan for 1 to 2 months of rent for these initial costs. So in Miami, that's gonna be between $4,000 to $5,000. If you're in a city like New York, they ask for even more security deposit, even like a broker's fee. So you should plan to have around $10,000. So to answer your question, you don't need that much of a plan. You just need a plan to save for the initial cost, and then you should be good to go. Next question. A plan to move out from my parents' house by 2025, so in 2 years. So ask yourself, what is it that makes you want to move out? Do you want to be independent? Do you want to just be closer to your office? Do you want to buy a house? Based on the reason of why you want to move out, you should start planning for that. So if you want to do it because you want to be independent, then you should start having those conversations with your parents, if that's necessary. If you want to move closer to the office, then start looking at locations and see how much rent is gonna be. So you can also plan how much do you have to be making an income in order to live there. If you want to buy a house or pretty much just anywhere that you want to live, they're gonna check your credit. So you want to start building your credit so you can do that. And also, like I said in my last question, make a plan to save $4,000 to $5,000, or depending on wherever you live. Mortgage loans against a 401k or your Roth IRA. So I really like this question, so let's break it down. First one is what? So when you open a 401k or a Roth IRA, you know that this is money that you're not gonna be able to touch until you're 59 and a half, unless you fall under a few exceptions, which are medical hardships or disabilities, paying for higher education, taxes, and purchasing, building, or remodeling a house. So if you do withdrawals that don't fall under these categories, you're gonna have to pay taxes and also a 10% penalty fee. So can you actually take out money for a house or like a loan to buy a house? Well, if it's a 401k, it's a little harder because that's a plan that is controlled by your employer. A lot of times you're gonna have some requirements like vesting or things like that, but most importantly, usually there's a cap of either $50,000 or 50% of your balance. And then IRA is a little easier because you control that investment plan, and also you can take out money of the initial investment without any issues or any fees or penalties. But the question is, should you or would I do it? And the answer in summary is no. The opportunity cost of taking out money from your IRA or your 401k conservatively is 7%, which is usually what the market yields every year. If you have debt that is cheaper than 7%, it's much worth it to just take that out and keep your investments growing in your IRA or 401k. And if you have debt that is higher than 7%, I'd say that's a little too expensive and you should try to find something cheaper or just wait a little bit. So I personally wouldn't do this. I think retirement savings and just retirement planning is sacred, but think about it. Next one, making a plan to pay off debt, either credit card or student loans. So in my favorite personal finance book, they say that there's 2 ways. There's this noble method and then there's the standard method. So the snowball method says that you should start paying down the loans that are the smallest. And then the standard is just more conventional, and it says you should start paying the loans that have the highest interest rates. So the snowball method is more focused on motivation. That way you pay down a loan and you get some traction to pay down the next one. And the standard is just more conventional of saving money. So my take is, and I have to be transparent, I've never had student debt and I've never racked up credit card debt. But if you have credit card debt that is above like $1,000, I think you should make your life miserable until you pay it down. So I'm talking full-on Dave Ramsey mindset of never eating out, not buying any new clothes, having the same car until you pay down that credit card. Credit card debt usually has an APR of around 25%, which will literally kill your financial future. But then student loan debt actually has much smaller interest rates. Usually I have a friend that just took out, it's around 6 to 7%. I'd say figure out how much interest you're comfortable paying in the long term, and based on that, just determine an amount that you're gonna pay every single month. Once you have that amount, just include it in your budget and just pay it every single month, and you should have a plan to pay it by a certain date. I like the snowball method. I think it's good to get some traction, but at the end of the day, I'm more of a mathematical person. So just determine that amount and just write it out and have it set. So why are credit card bonus offers getting significantly worse? Will this trend change? I don't think credit card bonuses are getting worse. I just think they're getting less valuable. If you look at the American Airlines Advantage, you're gonna see that the 50,000 miles bonus has been like that for like at least 8 years. The issue is that those 50,000 miles are not gonna buy you the same today that they will buy you 8 years ago. And the reason for that is just inflation. So no, I don't think they're getting worse. There's just inflation, which is making it less valuable. Will this trend change? Yes. The Federal Reserve has a #1 goal of decreasing inflation. The only issue is that, just like they said last week, is expected to take a little longer than we were hoping for. They're looking at until 2026. Difference between spending money eating out versus cooking. Is it worth the time to cook? So I actually love this question because this is a big debate that has been going on Instagram. So I think that if you fall under the category of people that time put into working equals more money, it does make sense for you to eat out. Cooking and meal prepping does take a lot of time of going to the groceries, getting them, bringing them back home, and then cooking. So if you could spend that time doing something that's gonna make you more money, then you should eat out. But if you're like the majority of people, including myself, where more time working doesn't necessarily mean more money, then it probably makes more sense for you to meal prep. I personally like meal prepping because one, I like using the money that I save to spending on other things that I enjoy more than eating out every day. And two, I like controlling my portions and also how healthy things are. However, if you do want to eat out, even if you don't make more money by just working more, you just have to include it in your budget and just figure out where you're gonna save. Because eating out does become more expensive monetarily than you cooking things at home. And talking about budgeting, the next question is best apps, programs, or sites for budgeting. So all cynicism aside, and actually all jokes, I did do a video about budgeting, which definitely check it out. And in there, I mentioned that the best app to do budgeting is actually a piece of paper, a pen, and a calculator on your phone. That's gonna be the first step in you determining your budget. And after you figure out a few numbers, you should put it into Excel and make it easier for you to determine where you want to spend more and when you want to spend less, even if you have no experience with Excel. Beyond that, as far as the tracking of your day-to-day, I actually don't know, because for me, I rather save the money of an app, because all the ones that are out there usually charge you money, and just do it myself. I also feel like I have more control. However, there's Mint that I've heard of, and there's also You Need a Budget, which is recommended in the book. But I have a bunch of other questions regarding budgeting and spending and investing that I have for my next video. So I will be answering those then, and also do some research regarding the best apps. So subscribe so you can check them out. Hope you like this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.